As many of you know, December is an incredibly popular time to retire, to hang it up, to stop working, right? But is that really the best time? What factors should you be thinking about with that you want to make sure are in place for whenever you decide to retire? And we're going to discuss today about why potentially so many people do retire in December and some of the things that you definitely need to be thinking about, because of course right now when this is going to be published, it's early October, so you're probably, if you're not retiring this December, then you're probably hearing about coworkers retiring, putting their retirement applications, all those sort of things when it comes to leading up to people leaving in December. So again, my name is Dallin Hawes. Welcome. This is a great place to learn about your benefits, your retirement, to get the most out of your investments and taxes and insurance, to be prepared for life and retirement. So if you're into that, consider joining the community, subscribing, whether on the podcast, whether on the YouTube channel. It is great to have you. So today, like I said, we're going to be talking about what makes December so special or such a favorite for federal employees, and the main things that you want to make sure are in place regardless of when you actually hang it up. Okay, so number one, as many of you might already know, December, one of the biggest reasons that December is such a popular time is because of annual leave. Okay, specifically unused annual leave, right? As many of you know, any unused annual leave that you have on the books when you retire, the government will actually cut you a check for that time, as if you would have kept working. So, for example, let's say you have a month's worth of annual leave when you retire. Well, they're going to cut you a check as if you would have worked that time, right? And so, generally, why it's December is people know that, hey, every year I could only take 240 hours of annual leave till the next year. It's use or lose, right? So if I save up all my annual leave and wait until all the way to December, I can get a large lump sum payment for a lot more than 240 hours of annual leave. And again, for some employees, it's more than 240 hours, but for the average Joe, it's gonna be 240 hours that you can take with you to the next leave year, right? And so that's why people do it. They say, hey, I want to really maximize my annual leave check. I want to retire in December. And that does a couple of things. First, it does help kind of maximize your annual leave, your payout there, but also they use that money to get them through the first little bit of retirement. Because as you know, if you've listened or watched some of my other stuff, you know that it can take some time for OPM to actually process your application and for you to actually start receiving money that you're going to need to live off of in retirement. So that annual leave money is a really, really big help for those to get through those first sparse months, right? And so the next thing that people always ask is like, okay, I get the annual leave thing. Is there anything else that really makes December a great time to retire? And really, the answer is no, not really, other than it becomes a lot more personal. The biggest universal reason that people pick December is because of annual leave. All the other reasons when it comes to picking a time to retire are really personal and specific to you. Okay, first, when are you actually eligible to retire? When's the soonest you can retire? When can you afford to retire, where you can maintain your standard of living in retirement, right? Or maybe what time of year would you like to be retired? Do you want to retire at a time when you could go on a trip to a place where the weather is going to be great at that time? Maybe that's the summer, maybe that's winter, maybe that's fall, who knows, right? I think the things that you should be thinking about is annual leave important? Oh yeah, sure, the numbers are important, but what I have seen is when people have a really solid idea and financial plan for their life, then they're less worried about the annual leave because they already have a cash reserve. They have plenty of resources to fill the gap of retirement, so they don't have to worry about it. So there's a few crucial things that regardless of which month you pick, you want to make sure you have in place. First, a financial plan of how much money are you making now, net, after taxes, after everything, and how much money are you going to be making in retirement net, after taxes, after your health insurance, after you pay for Medicare. When are you going to take Social Security? What is that going to be like, right, after taxes? How and when are you going to take money from your TSP in a sustainable way so you don't run out of money early, right? Once you kind of get a great idea of all of that, then you can figure out, okay, this is when I could afford to retire, right? And that may not be December 31st, but it may be. it just depends, okay, what makes sense for you. So that's the financial plan piece. You have to have a financial plan, right? But the other piece is you have to have cash reserves, like we talked about, to get you through those first months of retirement. And you can do that a couple of different ways. First, annual leave, right? Like we talked about, you can save up annual leave so that lump sum payment can be a big chunk of what you're going to need in the first little bit. But again, run your own numbers to see how much you're going to need and how much your annual leave lump sum payment is going to be. Okay. Second, also, if you just have an emergency fund of cash ready to go, then maybe that'll be enough, where the annual leave component won't be as important. Or maybe you're approaching retirement and you say, hey, I actually am not going to have a ton of annual leave and I don't really have an emergency fund. What can I do if, let's say, all my money's in the TSP? I've worked super hard to save in this TSP. How can I get an emergency fund if that's kind of where all the money is? And there's a couple different ways to do it, right? If you're over 59 and a half, you can actually take an in-service withdrawal before you retire so that you have some cash ready to go in retirement, so that as your agency is talking with the TSP to tell them that you're retired, as OPM's processing your application, as things of that nature are processing, you have cash ready to go that you don't have to stress about those processes that you don't have a ton of control in, right? It's going to take some time. You have to have the cash ready to go so you don't have to stress out later. But again, if maybe you're not over 59 and a half, in that case, it may be worth, if you have no other sources of money, it may be worth to kind of slow down your TSP contributions in the last little bit of your career so that you can build up a cash reserve so that in the first little bit of retirement, you have some money. You don't have to go to your credit cards. You don't have to go into debt because you're waiting for your pension and maybe to get access to your TSP, who knows, right? It can take some time. So those are the things to consider when deciding which month to retire. And if December makes the most sense, awesome, do December. But I don't want to make any of you, as my listeners, as my viewers, think that December is the only time that you should retire. There's lots of times that really make a ton of sense. It's just a matter of you making the numbers work and, of course, making your life work, because that's what it's about. Right, the numbers are great. You definitely want to make sure those are taken care of. But once those are taken care of, then what do you want? What does your life want? Right? If you could write a perfect script of what it would look like, when would you retire? And then definitely make the numbers work to support that, but try to do it in a way that makes sense for your life and your dreams and the things you want. And that will be definitely the best way to be happy, right? We want to be happy and fulfilled in retirement, and this planning is all to make that happen. So I hope that was helpful. Have an incredible rest of your day, guys, and I'll see you guys next time.